Cheers.
Cheers.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Curio City. It's your hosts, Lauren and Adam.
And Adam. I feel like you say I'm Lauren and I'll say I'm Adam.
Okay, I'm Lauren.
And I'm Adam.
Congratulations. We are professionals.
Thank you.
What'd you think of this episode, this conversation?
Well,
now, remember, nobody's listened to it yet. This is the very beginning, so...
You will learn so much about me in this episode, and it's great. I'm so glad.
You will learn so much about Adam, and Adam wasn't even there.
I wasn't even there, but you know what? You get to know a little bit more personal details about me that are usually not exposed about people on the internet. And that's fine. That's fine. That's great because we're vulnerable here. We talk about real things.
I'm so sorry.
Oh, no, it's great. You know, I don't mind the entire universe knowing.
Okay. I may or may not tease that on my own personal account as when I'm talking about this episode.
Yeah. That sounds like a teaser clip for sure.
So for sure. Okay. So today's guest is Allie Gonino.
She's amazing.
So excited for you guys to get to know her, to hear from her. Yeah, she's amazing. She's
one of our favorite people.
She's a mutual friend of our friend Alice Gretchen. A lot of you guys know who Alice is. And we met through her. Mm-hmm. Anyway, Allie was living in Nashville for a little while. She ended up moving back, or she moved away, and she moved to New York. So we do talk about that. We talk about her experience in Nashville, and it felt
like it was too short-lived that she was here, but
it's true. That's
true. Fine. We just have to go to New York more.
And I'm down for that.
Yeah,
and we even talk about in our conversation, and we talk about house swapping at some point. So we'll see if that'll happen sometime. But anyway, Allie's great. She's multifaceted, as a lot of our guests are. She's a writer. She is a musician, artist. She's also a violinist. And she's an entrepreneur. So there's just lots of things that she's got going on.
Yeah.
And that she's passionate about. So lots to relate to there. And yeah, she's hysterical. This is kind of a longer conversation, longer episode. Mm-hmm. But it's because we went there. You went to all of the different ideas that you could possibly think of and all the different passions that you have. And I love that. We talked about sex magic. We talked about...
what's interesting? I didn't really... And this is something that can reflect on me too, because I know the feeling, but I did not know that she was a musician. And I didn't know that she had such prolific bandmates. I didn't know. I thought she was just an actress. Not just an actress, but
But you were on her single cover.
I was. Yeah. But I didn't know that she had that much. I didn't know that she had a history with it. I thought she had kind of just started doing it from...
Oh, in Nashville?
Yeah, in Nashville. She was wanting to do it. I didn't know that she had already done so much music and had been collaborating with so many creative, incredible artists.
Yeah. I
Opened
know.
for a specific artist that is
she
well
opened
known.
for Justin Bieber. We just say that. we get into it, but yeah, she and her band opened up for Justin Bieber back in the day, and so yeah, she had a whole life of being a musician, as her main identity, and she still does music, and she's very passionate about it. But it's navigating the real life and the flow of when music comes back into her life, and then she's very meaningful, or she's very intentional with her art. We talk about the Balanced Bay, which is getting a rebrand,
which is so cool.
So I'm really excited for her.
The name is incredible. I think that's so smart.
So she's it's a podcast that she's kind of put on hold right now, and anyway, she has got lots of ideas for the things that she's got going on. Like we said, she lives in New York now, so potentially she's going to be there for a little while longer, and maybe get a brick and mortar for some things that she's excited about. So anyway, we go there, we talk about beauty routines. So anyway, excited for you guys to hear this.
Yeah, I think it's so cool. I feel like so many of the people that we've had on now, or that you've had on now, that I've had the pleasure of being friends with and knowing, have just been I love seeing that they all, not only do they carry a lot of different passions and ideas, but they are people who have changed their minds so many times.
Right.
And one thing that I've really been learning as I've just kind of been diving into the world of particle physics and quantum theory and all that stuff is the idea of that science and the process of trying to like figure out how the world works in so many ways that are so unknown to us, the idea of superpositions of atoms and like all these things, science forces you to hold multiple conflicting ideas at the same time and realize that it's actually true when they're conflicting and you have both and they're both independently true, and that everything kind of just has it's its own interpretation, and sometimes you just have to be willing to be in that unknown space to be able to figure anything out with your life.
I would say like science doesn't necessarily force you to, but it definitely asks you to if you're like actually wanting to learn anything in life. Yeah, and I feel like science also is in the state of a question mark, which is like what we're about. Like if you're totally. Like nothing's really sure, and that's something we talk about too in the with Allie is like I go into like my 3 tenets I live by, and one of them being the only thing that we can fully know is our own consciousness. Which I fully, obviously it's one of my tenets, what I fully believe. And science, that's why science is so fascinating to me, because it's constantly checking itself again. It's like constantly saying like, this is what I have found to be true, but let me do another experiment.
I was just listening to an interview with this guy named Brian Cox, who's one of the leaders in that speaks a lot on particle physics, and he said that one of his friends that won a Nobel Prize for one of his scientific discoveries was testing this theory, and he was just in his postdoc, and he was like, I'm finding results that don't make sense to me.
We love that.
I can't see where I'm wrong. And so he published it. And so and so like instead of publishing things because you're showing the world how right you are, generally in that platform, in that medium, you're publishing things so that you can be proven wrong, because the best thing that can happen in science is that somebody else proves you wrong, shows you new information, and you learn.
And that's like, I feel like that would be potentially a tenet of curiosity. It's like, hey, I'm putting this out there because like it'd be kind of interesting if somebody had a different idea.
It resonates so deeply with me, I think, because of that. And I think that's why pursuit of curiosity and what we're doing here is just, it feels so in alignment with me, because I'm like, that's what we're doing. We say it all the time. We live in vulnerability, and Allie's the same way, and every other guest that we've had is the same way. We're living in this vulnerable state of, we're saying it out loud while we're in process of figuring it out. And I think that is just so cool and so important. And I love that we've been building community around that.
It's something that's like taken a lot for you to get around too, because remember when I used to like have to like nail like over and over again, I had to get in your head to like have an edge. Like just hold on to something, like stand for something, so that like it doesn't have to be right. Like the whole purpose of having an opinion or like having something you're passionate about is like part of the fun is for that to change and for that to evolve, or for somebody else to be like, oh, me too, but a little like this. Like that's what living is. And I feel like that has taken a lot for you to like get around to. And I mean, it did for me too before I first like, deconstructed. Like it took me some time to like be okay with being wrong. But then once I did that first wrong thing in public, I was like, oh, this is addicting. Yeah.
Well, and there's something that's really efficient about whether you're feigning ignorance or just being obvious about it. People will tell you the answer more quickly and efficiently if you just pretend to not know, because they want to prove what they do know. It's just an efficient model to go out into the world and say, I don't know. Right. Because people will come back and they will tell you. Right. And sometimes it may be aggressive, but it is so effective in building conversation and communication, and like
that happened to me recently. Oh, social media. You fun. crazy you crazy cougar.
Oh wait, that's you. You're the crazy cougar.
Yeah. But anyway, Allie's you're amazing. Gonna love her. Excited for you guys to listen. Let us know what you think, as always. And before we jump into the episode, we did want to thank our sponsor for today, Blossom. If you just chugged your morning coffee and know the jitters will be in full effect by the end of this episode, it is time to switch, cuties. Blossom oat milk lattes are a delicious way to get the energy and focus you want from your coffee without the jitters and the crash. So Get 20% off your latte mix at drinkblossom.com with code CurioCity. That's drinkblossom.com, code CurioCity. Now, on to the episode. Allie Gonino. Go Nino. Go Nino. I remember that from when you came on the radio show, so it's stuck with me ever since.
Yes.
It's like a good little jingle to tell people because it is there forever, for sure. Welcome to Curio City.
Thank you. I've caught up on the first couple of episodes.
Hooray.
Hooray. And I love it. I love it here.
Thank you. Oh, so glad. We're so happy to have you in Curio City.
Yeah.
It's the world of curious cuties. So I know you are a curious cutie yourself. We all have a lot well, basically we have that in common.
Yeah.
We're all just very curious about the world. We've all evolved. We've all had many evolutions of ourselves and many different creative outlooks and different paths we've carved for ourselves. So you fit right into Curio City. So welcome. We're so happy to have you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. Yeah, it's funny. I listened to the 30 going on 13 episode, which there were so many moments in that episode where I was like, oh my God, we're like the same people. Like,
yes.
Just so much to relate to and so much that resonated for me. So, yeah, it was cool too.
Well, I'm glad you got to listen a little bit of a background. It's funny because usually when people come on the show, right, they fill out the little questionnaire thing that I have on our website. And no, Allie says, I'm not answering anything. You know who I am. I'm just showing up, which I love. But because of that, your girl had to do some research. And I don't know if you have, I don't know if you've recently Googled yourself just for the heck of it.
No.
But your Wikipedia page needs to be updated.
No, she's a whole mess. I do know that. I'm well aware that my Wikipedia is a hot mess. But I've tried going in there, and if now it's like that is the joke. I'm like, you know what?
Leave it.
People go to my Wikipedia page, see the worst photo that's ever been taken of me in my entire life as my Wikipedia photo. And that's your
great.
introduction to me.
It's great. No, okay, but because of that, we're going to have a little fun with it. I'm actually going to read the first little bit just because it really took me by just surprise at how outdated it was. Okay, so here we go. I have it screenshotted, and it's an interesting chosen photo, whoever chose it. Okay, so Allie Gonino is an American actress and singer. She's known for her regular role as, is it Laurel?
Mm-hmm.
Laurel Mercer in The Lion Game, and her recurring role as Michelle in 10 Things I Hate About You, both of which were ABC Family series. Gonino was a member of the American girl group The Stunners between 2007 and 2011.
Yes.
Gonino is currently in the band The Good Mad.
Not currently.
Not currently,
not
who were
close.
featured in The Lion Game, and which Gonino also starred. So anyway, that just made me laugh because I was like, that was the last thing that they have updated was 2011.
No one cares about my Wikipedia page.
So obviously no one is updating
No one's on it.
regularly, so we need to get on that stat.
But isn't there something you can't edit your own page?
I don't
Isn't
know.
that a thing?
It might be because I'm sure people would have, because at this point, but so it is just random people updating your Wikipedia and
nobody knows
who
my
don't
life.
even know you. No, of course not. But things that I learned on your Wikipedia, okay? So as someone who, we've known each other for a little while, but we haven't had as many, in-person conversations as I would like, because when we met in Nashville, we met through our friend Alice. She kind of introduced
Alice
us, rather.
Gretchen, who's wonderful.
Alice Gretchen, she's amazing.
We love her.
We're, obsessed with her. Yeah. She's also, a curious cutie. Same vibe. She's just always questioning the status quo, the status norm, all that. So it's very much, our thing. But we met through here in Nashville, and then you quickly left Nashville, which we will get into. But there are other things that I read in your Wikipedia that I was like, okay, I didn't know that about Allie. So your parents, what was it, the Gonino Health Center or something?
Yes, the
Healing Center?
Gonino Wellness Center for Healing. It's in Heath, Texas, which is near Dallas. It's east of Dallas, in the smallest county in Texas, a Rockwall.
Oh my gosh! Wow.
Yeah, and my parents are no longer together. So while I was growing up, they did own and operate it together, but now my dad's still there, obviously, because he's the doctor.
Yeah.
And my mom is not running the business anymore, but I'm very proud of the work that they did there.
It's so cool. Like, that makes sense as to why you're, now to this day, like, health is something that's always been very important to you. You now have the Balanced Bay, which we'll get into as well. So that was cool learning about that. I was like, oh, I'm like putting these puzzle pieces together of who Allie is. And then I also found out that as you were in the band, The Stunners, you opened up for Justin Bieber?
Oh, yeah, we did.
That's so fucking cool.
Yeah.
Oh, so there was like it was like a tour that you did, like a short tour, or what was it?
It was his first headlining tour. It was called My World Tour, and we went.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah, we went for 5 weeks across the U.S. Played to our first show was in Hartford, Connecticut. I remember it because before we had that show, I had a dream of being backstage in like a stadium. And when it was like our first show with him, and when we were walking backstage to go do our rehearsal, it was like that exact, I was like, oh my God, like
you had vision.
I've been here before, like in my dreams. And so we can also get into dreams, because I know you're like,
yes,
we'll get into the woo woo.
We got that woo woo. Mm-hmm. Yes, you prophesied that situation.
Yeah, I mean, it was a vision that was, given to me, I guess letting me know, like, this is what's coming up for you around the bend. But that was really cool. So, so I don't know if you know Haley Kiyoko. People call her Lesbian Jesus. She was in that band.
Okay.
She's cool. You could look her up. Not to plug Haley during my interview, but she has a book that just came out called Girls Like Girls, which was based on her first single. And then Tinashe, who's an R&B singer, was also in that.
Right. So sick. Yeah. That's so cool. And so was Allie Gonino.
And Allie
Gonino. all the celebrities that we just know and love came from the Stunners,
every single one.
Okay, so that's like your background, like way background. Let's like catch up for those who haven't met you before, who haven't heard of you before. Kind of tell us like who you are. You don't have to go into like a whole big spiel, but kind of what you're up to these days.
Yeah.
You're not opening up for Justin Bieber right now, so like what's going on for you?
A break from Justin. Honestly, I'm in a moment of transition and transformation. As you mentioned, I moved to Nashville at the end of 2020, quickly left Nashville almost as quickly as I moved in. And that was largely due to the fact that, so I went there to do music. And in the 2 short years that I was there, I had never done like less music in my life than when I was there. And I was like, this isn't it. It's also a very small town. You get to know, everybody pretty quickly. And I lived in LA for 14 years. It's like everything's spread out. There's so many people. It's diverse, diversity of culture, diversity of thought, curiosity everywhere you turn. And I just felt a little bit stifled in Nashville, and I felt kind of stifled by the music industry there. Felt like I still had to kind of fit in some sort of a box. And I went to Europe for 7 weeks at the end of last year, and just realized that the way that I like to live my life is being able to kind of nurture that curious part of myself. And if I don't have like big room to roam and express all of that, and just not express but explore all of that, I'm not going to be living fully in my truth. And so up here in New York, obviously you get all the kind of different different variety of people, of thought, of culture, of ideas and creativity and art. But it's also a walking city, and there are trains here that you can take upstate or to DC, or it's more of a European feel here. Yeah, and I really like that about New York.
Yeah, I was gonna say, anything you have to say about Nashville, like, let her rip. We have not been super nice about our perspective of Nashville. Like, in the past, well, on the podcast, we've been very honest about our struggles with it. Yeah. It's just right now, like, where we are, we would be very, very open to an opportunity, elsewhere. But right now, it's like where we are. But I completely agree. We had, you and I had the whole conversation we did in Nashville about, like, the differences between different cities and things. Had you lived in Brooklyn before? Is this your first time living in New York?
This is my first time living in New York.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, the South is tough for me right now. Yeah. I considered moving back to Texas and going to Austin. One of my very good friends is living in Austin. Besides the fact that the politics are a little cringe, it's very hot. Especially in Texas. Right. Like, there's just a huge chunk of the year that's like, you're either in your car or you're inside. If you can, like, survive and not. And I don't know if it's like what it is for me. I want to enjoy seasons. I think that, there's a lot of the appeal of a place like this versus LA. It's funny because since being in New York, I've heard people say that LA is boring heaven and New York is fun hell.
Okay, wait. Which is LA is boring heaven?
Yeah.
And New York is
fun hell.
Fun hell. Interesting. Okay. Interesting.
Yeah, like, and that's true because the last few years that I was living in LA, I was living in Malibu. And while it was like, I mean, I spent my pandemic childless, single, with my dogs on a beach in Malibu. It was like, woo! Right. Glorious, chill, healing vibes. And
one could only dream.
Dream, but I realized I'm bored.
You were bored. Yeah.
This is boring.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That makes sense. That makes sense for the different people I know as well, from both places. Like, I can see, like, through their experiences that it could be like, boring heaven and exciting hell on the other side of this country. Yeah. Well, I mean, we'll get more into Brooklyn and talking about all that because I do want to dive more into it just personally as well. Like, I very much love New York. Yeah. I was going to move there. I was going to go to college in New York, and then a whole big life change. I was going to, like, study musical theater, and then I ended up doing music with my sister. So that's how I ended up in Nashville. But I had plans and a scholarship to go to school in New York. Yeah. So I think New York has always been a special place in my heart. It's like one day I think I need to kind of live that out.
Yeah, it's a place that I would recommend everyone live for at least a year. Just from the perspective of, like, maybe you don't live your whole life here, that is fine. I don't know how long I'm going to be here, but it's a place that I have always known that I wanted to come and live and try it out. But also because it's like no other place in the world. I mean, you are surrounded, you're constantly confronted with reality. It's not a place, like, I feel like it's easier in other places to kind of, like, bubble yourself in. Nashville is very much a place that's kind of a little bubble.
Right.
And Dallas kind of was as well. But it's a lot harder to do that here because not only is there diversity of socioeconomic spectrum here, but you're on your feet and walking and using public transit, you're seeing the world in a city. Yeah. And for me, as someone who would love to be traveling all over the world all the time, I like that. And while you see some crazy shirt, it's life. It's real life. And as an artist and as writers, like, we get off on chewing on things and like kind of,
right.
and, you know,
Real life.
taking things in and meditating and having conversations about all the things.
Life.
Yeah,
the
life.
poetry that is life, that is the human experience,
Yeah.
for sure. Yeah, no, of course. I'm definitely going to be living there at some point in my life. Who knows when, but I will.
Yeah.
It's definitely a thing.
Come
but like
on
you
up.
mentioned, like, yes, I will. I'm going to pack my bags. I'm going to come visit. Like, who knows?
Also,
Maybe
if
I'll
you
never
ever want
leave.
to do a house swap, totally down to do that.
Oh, that's an interesting idea.
Yeah, if you want to come spend, you know, a month up here, and I'll come hopefully.
Oh my God.
Maybe, right? If I come down to
Yeah.
Nashville, but oh, sorry. I keep
Okay,
hitting this
that's
mic.
something. No, you're fine. It's fine. But there's something to consider for sure in the future. Okay, we'll talk about that. We'll talk about that after.
Yeah.
But you had mentioned, okay, so you had mentioned you're a writer. Obviously, you've been an artist. You are an artist. You're a violinist. That's something that's a big part of who you are as well. Yeah. How do you manage? 'Cause, like I mentioned, there's a lot of us in Curio City that like do a lot of things.
Yeah.
And so we're always looking, we're always like looking for advice on like how to manage all the things. So if you could like give us some like of the ways that you manage and find inspiration in the diverse creative outlets that you have.
I don't know that there's a ton of managing happening in my my life.
Yeah, understood.
I too would like to know how to manage all of the different facets of who I am, but I've actually kind of surrendered to the mess that is my life and just embracing each, rather than kind of viewing my life as I used to of like this like, you know, hill that I'm climbing where there's like a destination at the top. Life is really just like a series of moments, and some moments I'm going to be playing music, and some moments I'm going to be writing and hopefully finishing one day a screenplay, and you know, other moments I'm going to be doing a play, hopefully on Broadway one day in New York. Like, you know, it's I'm trying to have a different mindset about it all because it feels very overwhelming. And almost impossible to think of my life as being like, you know, this thing that I have to like craft and like, I have a vision, obviously, but like, I also have control over very little. So
yeah, it's true. Yeah, and it's like when we look back, we can see how everything ties and lands, and like, oh, I had to go here to do this.
Yeah.
And when I ended up doing this like career path, then that I met this person, and then I moved over here, and it's like then looking back, you can see the through lines and how everything connects. But I don't think that's necessarily our job in the present moment. I think our job is just to stay in the present moment and to follow those passions and to like chase what like lights you up. I say that a lot here. And yeah, I think you do a really good job at that, not like over identifying with any specific label or career path. Like obviously you've lived many, and we will continue, like you will continue to ebb and flow and like change. And one of the things that you do is like music. We've talked about that, but and Adam was like in one of the pictures at one point for a promo.
Oh yeah, both of you.
Yeah. That's true. It was both of us.
That was back when I released Good Men as a single. You guys were the cover art for that.
Yeah, which is so crazy. It was like so random, but we're like, yeah, sure, we'll come by. We'll bring my camera and just take a few photos.
Yeah, but I also like it. I kind of knew when I met you guys right off the bat. I was like, these are my people. Like, there are some people that you
just know.
You meet, there are people that you meet and you can get along, but then there are other people that are on another level where you're like, there's a deeper like kinship here, even though we barely, you know, talk or whatever. It's like I see the work that you guys do. I know now, listening through your through listening to your podcast, like I know a little bit more about how you guys think and how you guys are, and I'm like, oh yeah, like that's why they feel familiar to me.
Yeah.
So
for sure.
Yeah, I was like, I'm gonna include them in my artwork.
Common. Yes, I love, and I'm so glad we did. It's so fun to like. I love that song. First of all, you have the coolest voice. Like that's just. I think it doesn't. Like I want to hear it more. Like I want to hear more of that style. It's kind of like an old, like rock country, but like but your music is pop. So anyway, it's very interesting. I'm very like it's fascinating music to me, so I'm
Thank
excited.
you.
I hope you like come out with more things.
Thanks.
But like let's kind of dive into that music side. Like how does your music tie into like your overall artistic journey?
So it used to be my entire identity.
Relatable.
Yeah, relatable. And is still so much a part of who I am, but I realized that putting that pressure on myself for it to succeed and for it to be the thing that was like, I want people to know me for this, was just a lot, because you can't write about life until you live it. And so I'm not one of these people who like is gonna put out a single every week just to have something out there. It's like,
right.
I process things kind of slow, actually. Like there's some things I process really quickly, and other things I process at a snail's pace. And so, and like you and Adam, like I have varied interests. Like I am very passionate about filmmaking and want to get to a place there that I feel good about. And so music is still very much a part of who I am. It always will be, but I've had to shift my perspective on like needing that like validation of people knowing me for that. I mean, I would love to have a career like Taylor Swift, you know,
Right.
who doesn't,
Right.
like, you
Right.
know, where you're just like selling out stadiums and able to give
Of course.
hundreds of thousands of dollars away. I mean, that was honestly like the main reason I wanted to be super famous, was just because I knew what that power and that making that kind of money could do for the world. But for whatever reason, the universe said no.
Yeah. Right now.
Right now, and
Yeah.
you got to go through these other lessons to
Right.
be able to hopefully potentially be able to handle that kind of level of power, responsibility, because we think it's like, oh, it's just, you know, it's fame, it's like glory, but it's like, it's actually like a lot of responsibility to hold a space like that. Like, I'm not a Swiftie, but
Right.
viewing Taylor's journey is teaching me a lot about just like being a woman in music, you know, just being a woman,
her whole career,
period.
her whole path.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I mean, I relate with the whole like identifying with music and needing to kind of let it go and let it it's so cheesy, but like letting it go and then also just letting it flow. Like, so however it comes up, you know what I mean? Like whenever music is like calling me back, whenever I feel like that's going to be it back in my life, like I'm going to accept it, but I'm not going to push it right now. And obviously you and I have different experiences, but I can at least empathize with that. It was a whole mind fuck when I had to like release the identity and ego of being an artist, you know, a touring artist, all these different things, because one, not only is it like, you know, an ego boost, but also it was the only thing I knew for so long. And so from at a young age, when like you're an adolescent, like when things become so tied to who you are, that's so hard to loosen the grip of beyond like any other like goals or even visions you have for your career. It's hard because it's all you know.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
So I definitely relate.
And it's so courageous when we step outside what we know. One thing that has always puzzled me about everybody before curious cuties like us came onto the scene, you know, artists have been artisting for years, but like, you know, just like, how are these? I mean, they must really, like, accountants must really love being accountants, that they like chose the thing and then did the thing forever, every day. And I'm like, what? Like, that just one thing.
Yeah, same. Same. It's confusing. Like, how does one do that? I don't know.
I mean, maybe
like,
you really love it, and then that's like great for you. But like, I also know so many miserable people, and it's like, because sometimes it is really hard to choose to do the hard thing of stepping outside what you know to explore and do something else. I mean, we have so many ego blocks when it comes to like, how's the world going to perceive me? What if I fail? What if I make a mistake? What if I you know, the main thing is I got to be able to provide for my family and put food on the table. And if I don't know where I'm going, how am I going to have control over my space and my livelihood? And I do not, that's not the world that I want for us.
Right.
I want a world that,
no, I don't either.
that nurtures the explorer in us, the discoverer, the pioneer, the you know, the curiosity
yes.
in all of us.
I completely agree. And like,
sorry, I did want to just add one thing to what you were saying about your musical journey.
Yeah.
You know, I hope you get back to doing music one day. But I think the fact that you started in Christian music, you had to go through that journey of like deconstruct to be able to open yourself up energetically to do something outside that.
Yeah, it's crazy because like when I started the podcast too, it's like I fell into music. Like I had always been doing music. Like just from a young age, I had a good voice. So like I just was always given like solos and choir. You know, it's just like it became so quickly. It became part of my identity. But what's interesting is like one of my earliest memories of something that I actually loved and like wanted to do, and I spoke on this on a recent episode, I think, is that when I was like 6 and I watched The Lion King,
You wanted to be Nala? I'm just kidding.
No, I wanted to be Simba. I wanted to be his voiceover. I was like, I want to do that. I was like, I want to act for like, you know, basically I wanted to use my voice, but it wasn't like in a singing way. It's like I wanted to use it in other ways. Yeah. And then as I listened to the radio, like I was like, oh, I want to be a radio host. And these earlier dreams and visions of the things that I loved. And then when podcasting came on the scene, I was like, well, of course, that makes so much sense. And podcasting for me came right out of like being in music. I wasn't in music anymore. You know, my sister had quit the band and we had like our whole band had just like disbanded. And I was like, what do I do now? Adam was my drummer. So I was like, I still want to do stuff with him. And anyway, so it just became very natural. And podcasting is like right now, my main gig. And it's like what I love so much. Mm-hmm. But I do think, I had to follow like that path of like the music stuff. I think I always want a microphone in front of me. I don't know what that means. I don't know if I'm singing into it, if I'm radio hosting, if I'm podcast hosting, or if I'm like being the voice of a lion. I don't know, but I will always have a microphone in front of my face.
She needs to be amplified, y'all. I feel the same way.
Exactly.
I feel the same way.
Exactly. So one of the things that you also did as well recently is that you I say recently, but it could have been even a year ago. What is time? I don't know. But you started the Balanced Bay, yes. Which whenever I learned about your parents and like your background being in like health and things like that, I was like, okay, this makes sense for you. So like, let's dive into it and how, you know, it helps people live a more sustainable life. Like I know that's part of your kind of tagline. What motivated you to create this community and what are its key principles?
Well, Balanced Bay is having the podcast that I did with Balanced Bay is also having a transitional moment. I'm wanting to get back to podcasting, but kind of in the same way as you, I want to open up the umbrella because I felt a little boxed in by that name because I'm interested. I think it's, you know, health and especially holistic health is about so much more than just just like what you're eating and how you exercise and meditating. And that's only a very small part of who I am. So we're rebranding the podcast into the Yes and podcast.
Cute.
Cute, yeah.
I love that. Yes and.
And but Balanced Bay will continue to be a thing. I'm working on making it more of like a brick and mortar e-commerce like store, and then hopefully eventually can grow into maybe a store / communal space for yoga classes, dance classes, art nights, and that kind of a thing. But I started it during the pandemic because I was like, what else am I going to do here in my living room? And at the time, during the pandemic, my kind of routine was getting up and doing Kundalini exercises for like 45 minutes and just like getting my vibration up, like being deep into meditation, going on hikes. And it was a really wonderful moment in my life because that was pretty much, I just really gave myself over to like the spiritual side of me. And then realized that I also have a very real, like, creative businesswoman side of me, and that's what sparked the move to New York. But but yeah, just like Kundalini is a tool that I've found very powerful for clearing out old energy, creating new positive energy, and then again with my dad being who he is. His name is Dr. John Gonino. He's based at the Gonino Center for Healing in Heath, Texas. He also has a book coming out soon, which I don't even know the title of yet. He hasn't told me. But yeah, it's always, I mean, health has always been like a conversation in my household growing up. And so, you know, I've been very like anti-big pharma, like anything that upsets kind of the natural balance of the natural world. I'm like, no, like this is the first time in my life I don't have a car. I'm contributing far less to climate change, and I love that I'm not really supporting big oil with buying gas all of the time. Not to say, like, you know, cars are a wonderful, wonderful thing. I don't want to like get it twisted. Like,
we're not knocking cars.
We're not knocking cars, but like, I do feel more in alignment with my values at this point in time, and just in the fact that I'm not kind of giving my power, my money away to that. So
absolutely.
So yeah.
Yes. No, I love that. And with your whole rebrand that's coming, the yes and, it's like, it's very similar. Sounds very like similar to kind of our ethos here at Curiosity. It's a woo woo. Blending the woo-woo with the woo-hoo, and you know, there's always like more.
Yes.
There's always like, okay, but there's the other side of it, or it's like not even the other side. It's just like, how can we hold kind of two truths at once?
Exactly.
How can we be, you know, and I think even with the balanced bay, whenever you do end up kind of potentially making that like a brick and mortar kind of place, like that for you could be more of your woo-woo side, and like bringing in like more of that spiritual stuff.
Yeah.
And like it's like healthy to have those elements that you feel comfortable like driving those important morale, that important morale into things that you're passionate about, but then also having like other things in your life that you can just, you know, relax on or have more fun with. And you even call yourself, I think it's in your bio, I think you call yourself a tree hugger, which I love because I love hugging trees as well. It's something that like I've talked about the tree outside my backyard that doesn't really like us, so I'm like trying to make good friends with it. So, yeah,
your tree likes you. Why do you think he doesn't like you?
He's jaded. He's seen too many people like around this like house, and like it's just jaded. Like it doesn't like want. Yeah. Anyway, so we're working on it. But anyway, so the tree hugger thing, like person in me, I'm like I relate. But like, so how does your artistic pursuits align with your commitment to sustainability and being a tree hugger, if you will?
Yeah. I think I'm honestly figuring it out. Like that's kind of like,
aren't we all?
Yeah, I'm in the process of trying to just figure out like what is the most sustainable, not only like my impact on the environment, but like what is sustainable for me to be able to do all the things that I want to do, but do it in a way that doesn't burn me out. And it is
like the car thing, like that's like important to you. You feel good about that.
Yeah.
Like take your wins.
Yeah. You know, if I was on a big tour right now, flying all over the place, I'd be like contributing so much, you know, to the, you know, the climate change problem. Which I know some people don't believe in, but like,
speak your truth.
You know,
speak your truth. Don't hold back.
Yeah. We can agree to disagree, but like also sea levels are rising. Here in Manhattan, we just had a crazy rainstorm, and apparently like, I mean, a lot of it is infrastructure, but some of it is also the fact that like Manhattan is sinking at the same time that sea levels are rising. So, and weather is just like wonky nowadays. It's like not really the same. And here's the thing too, like we can say all day long that it's like purely human made. I would say it's human exacerbated, it's human perpetuated and accelerated, but the earth does go through these cycles of climate change. Like the earth has been through many the way that I look at it is like she's going through hormonal changes, you know, she's like going through menopause or whatever you want to call it. Like women do that too.
Yeah.
And to me,
I mean, I think technically we're still in an ice age. We're like at the end of like some sort of ice age. I don't remember what
it's very hot. I don't know if I would agree with that terminology, but
yeah, I don't agree with the terminology, but there was something about it. I don't think ice age means like it's about the ice cap somewhere else. It's not about it being like cold all over the place. But anyway, I do find it interesting, like the world, the earth, the planet Earth, like it is like constantly going through the shedding.
Wait, what is technically the term? I don't know, so I'm not judging you.
I don't fully know. I would honestly, that's something for Curious Cuties, for you guys and for Allie and I to like look up after this. So we'll like look into basically,
or if you guys know, let us know.
Yeah, if you guys know, let us know in the comments. Like at the end, I think we're like at the end of an ice age or something. Because we've had a few of them.
Oh, you mean like it's the end of like icebergs being a thing, maybe?
Don't know. But I think there's an actual term for like the different things that are going on with like the different ice caps in different places on the earth that are like melting, which are causing like extreme weather, like not just hot, but like extreme weather.
Interesting.
Hot and cold.
Okay.
Anyway, it's something fascinating to like perhaps like look into. Maybe, I mean, I'm not the one to speak about it because clearly I don't know enough, but it's just fascinating learning more about the earth in general and its like different phases and like you were mentioning.
Well, yeah, I mean it's a living thing. That's that's what we forget a lot of the time, is like we're expecting it to be whatever we're expecting it to be, and it's like it's a living being. Like like any of us, like a human being. It's its own living.
We're part of nature. Like we aren't separate from it. We are nature itself. Like we are part of Earth. Yeah. Look at us getting in our woo-woo shit right now. I love it.
I love woo-woo.
We're all into that. Actually, like one of the things here, like in Curiosity, as you probably know and you've picked up, is like one of our main focuses is on personal growth as well. So it's like about the woo-woo, it's about the woo-hoo, it's all these different things, but it's also like, okay, at the end of the day, we can get really overwhelmed with like climate change things. We can get overwhelmed with like all these sort of conversations. It can be very daunting. It's like important to focus on, but then like we have to recenter ourselves and like being like in the present moment and knowing that like, okay, we're doing our best. And then I think one of the reasons why so many of us are into personal growth is because of that, because we're like, okay, I need to like focus on me then. Like how can I be better? How can I do better? So let's talk about your personal journey on like self-improvement. Just kind of take us through that. Like how has it shaped your creative and personal life?
I'll say that I can't really excel in any career part of my life or creative part of my life if I'm not nurturing the self-development, like inner improvement kind of thing. I would say that being single for 8 years has set me up to do a lot of work on myself. And I've always been, since I was a little kid, very interested in like the spiritual more so than kind of the religious. Like we have similar backgrounds in that I grew up in a Christian community, but I would say the way that we're different is that I started questioning just earlier. Like I was like, I feel like I can have a relationship with Jesus and not have to go to church every Sunday. I don't think
mine was definitely early too. It just wasn't allowed. It was very much not allowed.
There you go.
Because the rocks and the trees were like, I have a whole episode on that where it was like my church, and like I felt like I could touch the sky. I felt like the sun was like God, and it was like a whole thing for me, but like that wasn't allowed for me at any age. So yes, but please continue because I'm all about this.
So I would say I'm trying to think back to like the earliest like book that I read that was like like the turning point, and I think it might have been The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. It was a gift to me by my ex-boyfriend at the start of, like, right when I actually it was the gift that he gave me when I did the Lion Game pilot. So it was like kind of at this moment where I was like, oh, stepping into a new chapter, like this is more exposure that I've ever experienced, being like the lead on a TV show. Right. And that book it's such a beautiful book, but and it's very spiritual, but it's kind of told like it's a parable sort of a thing where it's like we're shepherding, you know, what we're really up against is ourselves. And what I learned from that is like essentially like on the way to becoming who I'm meant to be, I'm also shepherding others at the same time. So true. So that was kind of like the like basis foundation. And then the next book that I found really helpful was A New Earth by Eckhart Tolle.
Yes, I love that one. I gave it to my friend Zamaria. She's constantly reading it.
Yeah.
But yeah.
It took me a minute to get into it. But once I did, you know, that one was a hard one for me. I'm still assimilating it. But one of the great things that I took away from that book is just like awareness and ego cannot coexist. Fear and awareness cannot coexist, because one is one reality where we're all a part of this thing together. And no problem is really too big for us to kind of solve. Or we can just relax into the moment and be present, and then sometimes the problem resolves itself. Oh, sorry. Or we're living in the alternate reality of like fear and greed, and I feel myself constantly doing this, and I think it's kind of a challenge here, especially in New York. We're really just American capitalistic society, but like especially here where the cost of everything is so high, it's hard not to just think about like, or live your life in a way that's like, I don't know if I should really like buy myself a matcha latte today, even though that would give me joy, because like I need to make sure that I have enough for, you know, paying rent next month, because I don't know if I'm gonna get paid for this job, or like when the check from this thing is coming in. And so it sucks. Like it's like a constant like shepherding of yourself, and that's what adulting is. It's like, how do I not be so serious about life all the time and give myself away to this thing that's such bullshit a lot of the time anyway, but is a reality that I have to deal with. It's very complicated. But I kind of got off track there. So
No, I love that. And like speaking of like Eckhart too, like I have like 3 tenets in life, and they kind of come from like, before I ever read A New Earth, I actually read or I just listened to a lot of his podcasts, like interviews, and that helped me. That helped prepare me to read his book, because I was already familiar with his topics and the things that his verbiage, his vernacular. And so I do recommend that if anyone wants to read A New Earth, perhaps listen to some of his interviews first, because it just like, I don't know, it helps prepare your mind for like what's to come in the book. And anyway, some of my 3 tenets, like they kind of come from his teachings a little bit, and just like from my own beliefs as well. And well, they go not in any order either, but it's that the only thing you can count on is change. The only thing we can really know is our own consciousness, and life really isn't that serious. Those 3 things.
That
so
second
like,
one was
serious,
was good for me to hear. All we can really know is our own consciousness. That's really profound.
Yeah, I mean, consciousness is the only thing we know. So like we could like pull the weeds back as much as we possibly could. We could even describe a table, and you could be like, "That's purple," and I'm like, "That's blue," and like. The only thing we really know is our own consciousness. Is that table even there? Like we think it's there. Like
you know what? That's such a like, you will never assimilate that truth more than when you do psychedelics with your friends. Because when you're tripping, you're like, yo, like, this is amazing. Like, you know, you're having a whole experience and you're like, no one else is seeing this.
Right. It's so
I can't even describe what I'm seeing. And that's why art is so important, is because art is the vehicle that we can use to bring other people into our worlds.
Yes.
That's why filmmaking to me, or, you know, or really whatever. I mean, painting, filmmaking, books, like,
it's all,
that's what it's for.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. And like, you're a spiritual girly. Like, that's something that like clearly we can relate on. And you talked about,
I think it comes from our like I think the reason our brand of spirituality is so similar is because we're Native American.
Right.
You're Cherokee, right?
No, I'm Chippewa. So it's like a Chippewa or Ojibwe. It's like, it's the same tribe with just different name, but yeah, up in Canada.
Yeah.
And what is your tribe?
I'm Cherokee.
You are Cherokee. Okay, yeah. Different tribes, same ethos, you know, love the earth. Yes. There's so much more than we possibly know. Take care of each other, take care of yourself, take care of the planet, you know, like it's a very similar brand, like you said, of like spirituality. And like you mentioned, like you did Kundalini during COVID and all of that. So is there like, are there other things, like, are there any other like practices that you have like in your spiritual backpack that you like will pull out every once in a while, or that are like really important to you, and how do they influence your approach to life and your creative endeavors?
I think the ultimate practice of yoga is to make everything a spiritual practice. It's like, how do you find the magic in like washing your dishes?
Yes.
Right? Like that kind of is like the ultimate. If you can make your whole life feel like, this is a spiritual, you know, I'm totally in this moment, like living here, which is, again, hard to do, especially if you're like in your masculine, logical, gotta be making plans and making money and all the things. Which is maybe another little rabbit hole that we could get into, that like, I wonder if men feel spiritually bankrupt right now because they feel like their hats always have to be on the practical stuff, which is very
probably,
but one of the other things that I love about living in New York is walking everywhere. Honestly, a spiritual practice for me is just like putting on music that makes me feel like getting into that poetic space. And walking around the city and just experiencing the city and the people and just being present in it, to the experience, and meditating on what I come across and what I find. But I also don't want to like project this whole like persona of me being like, I'm doing yoga 24/7 and because like I'll eat some chips in my bed, you know? Like, yeah, exactly. Like, I am from the South still, and I love, you know, there are some patterns that I'm still trying to disentangle myself from.
Yeah, of course.
But like, there are moments where it's just like, you know what, I want a bag of chips, and I want to sit in my bed, and I want to scroll on my phone.
Yes.
And I will say, during the most like depressive moments of my life, which were like my 20s, more so early 20s, like meme creators were the ones who were doing the heavy lifting for me. Like I was in this moment of not in my spiritual center at all, and very much had placed so much importance and faith and power in my relationship with my boyfriend, the band that I was in at the time, these goals that I had for myself and for the band and for, you know, my persona or trajectory.
Yeah.
And all of that came crashing down at the same time as my parents were getting a divorce. And I was like, I remember being in my apartment and falling to the ground and feeling so heavy and just thinking like, there is no God, there's no purpose to living. Like, really, like, I'll also not be shy to say that, like, I've multiple times, like, thought about committing suicide. And I don't want to say that casually, but I also don't want to give it too much, like, I'm saying it because if you've thought about it, like, you're not alone.
Right.
Like, this is, I think it is a sort of natural component of going through a dark night of the soul,
Absolutely.
the human experience,
Yeah.
and feeling alone, even though you're surrounded by a lot of people.
Absolutely.
So the way that I started to crawl myself out of that hole was honestly just to, like, go on Instagram and scroll and look at the hilarious things that other people were putting out there, and just laughing.
Yeah.
Like, laughter is such a, it really is the best medicine.
Yeah, it is.
Like, it because it stimulates all the things, right? It stimulates your heart space. It stimulates your mind.
Your lymphatic system, even if you're like moving around and like you're laughing, throwing your head back, your lymphatic system is pumping, baby.
Yes, and all sense goes out the window.
Yeah.
You forget about all the stuff, and that's why I think, like, going to see comedy shows is so powerful, and I love comedians and have a very soft spot in my heart for comedians.
Same.
But yeah.
Same.
So I think being spiritual is more, it's like less about having to, you know, declare yourself a Buddhist or a whatever, and committing yourself to, like, that, whatever the cliches or the stereotypes about whatever that religion experience means, and really just embodying yourself and experiencing the things that make you excited or curious or inspire you to want to learn or create or literally whatever it is that's, like, feeding you.
Yeah. The thing that, like, keeps sticking out to me personally, like I said in the beginning, was like you posted on your stories today, like after you posted that you're coming on to talk with me, you posted things about being in Brooklyn and like walking around, and things are so cute, and like it's something that I crave very deeply, is like a walkable city, and potentially even New
Girl,
York.
come to Brooklyn.
Who knows? Maybe it's calling my name. I don't know. But it's something that, like, I saw, and I was like, it definitely felt like warm to me. And you keep bringing it up as like almost like part of your spiritual practice. Like, I think moving to somewhere new is going to be like, it's going to evolve you. You're going to be like in this metamorphosis of like who you are, just because like locationally you're in a completely different environment, like all those different things, like the very physical fact-based, like that's there, but also there's just something that happens in your mind and in like your energy as well, that's like, it's like the unseen, but you can feel it. Like, you can feel the difference of being like in a different place and in a different city with a different lifestyle and like the culture around you. And so like I did want to ask if there's like any specific experiences that you've had, you know, in Brooklyn that, you know, that they've like kind of transformed you, or like how the city's obvious vibrant culture and very different from where you've lived before, like how has it influenced like your artistry?
I don't know yet if it's influenced my artistry.
Or even you as a person, you know, like, it's obviously made an impact on you, and it's changed. It's a part of what you even say is a part of, like, you would even consider a spiritual practice to walk around Brooklyn, you know, like, that is that's a huge piece of who you are, right? Yeah. So like, eventually, I guess you could say, it will affect your artistry, and you may not see the tangible right now, but it will come out.
I will say that, like, when I first moved here, I would like wrap things.
Wrap?
You know, like I would have like just moments of like little like rapping moments. Yeah, I mean, like, not a whole ass like freestyle, but like,
that's hilarious. Okay.
You know, being able to pick up on the vibration and the tone of.
Is that something you've done before?
No. But like, you know, I'm a musician,
Yeah,
so
of
like
course, of
I pick up on you know the tone and the cadence and the lingo and the whatever. I'm not over here like doing gangsta rap or anything, but like
of course.
I definitely feel a little bit more hip hop here.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
okay. I love that. That's not what I expected, but I could see that it's like there is a vibration to New York. There's like every city has a different vibration, so it's clearly got a different rhythm.
Energy. Yeah, totally. Yeah, I would just like start rapping like whatever kind of like thoughts I had. I would just rap them, and like I was like, that's funny. Like, also Halsey is the street that I live on, and she named her persona self after the street.
Oh, really?
Which I think is really interesting. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay, I had no idea that was like her background with it. The name.
Yeah. I will say one of the good things I think about Nashville, and this is kind of going to bring in maybe a little bit of the deconstruct conversation, but one of the good things about Nashville, about my time there, even though it didn't really, you know, stick as a part of like, this is where I'm going to live forever,
right,
but it did bring me back to Jesus.
Okay.
And I'm getting curious about what a relationship with Jesus looks like. I pray a lot more. I include him in a lot more of my conversations. Yeah. I think we could also do a whole nother episode on and just talking about, you know, that if you would want to sometime. But
part two.
And just getting to know, like, you know, what does a walk with him mean, and kind of like including him in my experience here.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of like, you know, when I go out, I'm kind of like, and my dad's fiance, she'd probably call herself my spiritual mom, but she's, you know, very down for Jesus, and she always says, like, you know, Allie, like, when you go out and start your day, like include him, like, in the conversation. Be like, what do you want me to see today?
Yeah.
What, you know, don't live so much in the, like, okay, you gotta, like, do all the things and go be a little business person and, like, have control over every moment of my day.
Jesus
but, like,
helps you live in your feminine.
Yeah, like, what am I supposed to see today?
Yeah.
And how is that gonna inform my own healing journey?
Yeah.
But then again, like you said, like, my artistry, like, what am I gonna be? How's that gonna affect my writing? And not to say that, like, everything from here on out is gonna be like Jesus, right, but, like, tapping into that vibration and who he was and is still.
Right.
Like, it's like plugging into this greater kind of, not matrix, but like,
like almost like energy fields of, like, no, I know what you're saying. Yeah, for sure. I was talking to Adam about it recently. I was like, walk down the street, you're going to be very hard pressed to find anyone anywhere that specifically doesn't like Jesus. Like, maybe Christianity, the Bible, like, you're going to find lots of issues everywhere, but, like, the person of Jesus, it's like, you're going to have a hard time finding anybody who isn't like, I mean, Jesus was great, like, even as an idea. People who just think even, like, Jesus was just an idea, even, like, we can go that far, like, the idea of who he was. Like, people would be like, I mean, he was a good guy. Like, you're going to be pretty hard-pressed to find anyone who doesn't. So, like, it's definitely something that's been, like, always, like, we're always in conversation about this thing. Like, of course, like, we have, quote-unquote, deconstructed, which we have. Like, Adam even considers himself, like, an agnostic atheist, and I guess I would kind of as well. But, like, thing is, the personhood of Jesus, like, carries a lot of weight and energy, just like anything has energy. Stories have energy, carry weight and energy. And so I definitely, and there are a lot of people in the spiritual community I've seen that have, like, kind of reclaimed Jesus back for themselves, and I'm like, I support that. I think that's where he belongs. I would much rather Jesus in the hands of you than in the church down the street. You know what I mean? So I'm all in support of that.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, I've only been here for 6 months. I'm sure the journey is gonna continue to
Of
evolve,
course,
and
as it will, as it does, and that's just like
as it
natural.
does.
Yeah.
But what about you? What do you have spiritual practices? I know you guys do yoga,
Well,
but
it's funny because like yeah, we haven't done yoga in a while, but we've been getting up at 5:30 and going on this nature walk, which to me is even better than yoga. I'd much rather be in nature, walking around and talking to deer and birds than even a yoga
yeah,
class. Just personally for me.
yeah,
And like no one else is awake, and it's like just us, and it's just like it's so magical. So I would see that's like my number one. It's probably the reason why too. When you're talking about walking around in Brooklyn, I'm like, walking is spiritual to me. It always has been, and
yeah.
like, I don't know, man. Like, there's just something about being in your body and just being like, ah, I'm alive. Like, I'm smelling things. I'm
Yes.
feeling the wind. I'm listening to birds. I'm listening to cars. Even whatever it is. It's like
Yeah.
you just feel. You're just. It's like that feeling you get when you're like sometimes when you're dreaming and you get to see like you're like the aerial view of like you're watching yourself kind of in your dream. Sometimes that's how like walking feels. I'm like I'm like observing myself as a human being and the senses that I have. So I would say walking is a huge part of like my spiritual practice, and just like allowing myself to let go of everything.
Yeah.
Being in nature just always ties me back. Like I go outside my backyard and it's like an immediate like. I would say I'm pretty lucky when it comes to like I don't feel like I have to do a whole dance and song to like get back into that
Yeah.
centeredness
That
and
place.
feeling connected
Yeah.
spiritually or
Yeah.
to the earth. Like it's just I'm really thankful. It literally takes me no time at all. I just can walk outside and just decide that in that moment I don't want to be human me. I want to be like earthy spiritual me, and it's like it happens in a second, and I'm like very thankful for that.
Yeah.
But of course, there's things like in the world of like manifesting and goals and dreams, more on the like masculine side of it. I'm like trying to find that blend of being like that feminine, like calling in the things that like I love and the passions and goals that I have, but like achieving them in a sustainably masculine way, but also in a big time in a feminine way of dreaming it and embodying it, my goals and dreams before they even come to fruition. And that I feel like is a little bit more playing with the feminine. And so, yeah, I mean, Adam does breath work. He's really into that. That really helps him.
Can I ask you a spicy question?
Of course, please. I love spicy questions.
Do you ever use masturbation as a manifestation tool?
Oh yeah, so like sex magic for sure. So
Sex magic,
I definitely do. I did a big time actually. I used masturbation manifestation in what year was that? I think it was 2021 or 2022, whatever. It was recent. And it was like a daily practice for me.
Yes, girl.
And I was very healthy in that stage of my life.
You're glowing.
Literally,
You're like happy to be alive.
Literally. I'm like, I need to implement that back. I haven't gotten into that routine because that was in my house prior to the house I live in now. And so like we mentioned, like,
were you married at that time?
Oh yeah. We got
Okay.
married in 2018, like the beginning of 2018.
Okay.
And so yeah, he'd go off to work.
I love that you were still giving yourself self-love.
Oh, of course, yeah. So that's one of the main things like we deconstructed too was like what is sex, and then like that's how we actually came to deconstructing our faith was like really talking about sex, because we struggled with it when we first got married, just like different like anatomical issues that we were like dealing with, and so I was like, oh, well, what is sex? And then the question of like, well, if we're not able to have like whether it was penetration or whatever, if we're doing other things, then that's sex too, right? And then what if I'm by myself, like what like just it was like a snowball into all these different things, and it was like one of the first things that I was like, oh, this is all okay, like reclaiming my body back, because we got married under the Christian narrative, I guess. We had like a Christian wedding and all that, and like pretty quickly. Did
you guys wait?
We did wait. And so pretty quickly we like,
which I think is beautiful.
Yeah, of course.
I didn't wait.
I don't think there's like a right or wrong. I think like everybody's personal journey. But for me personally, I think it would have been helpful if I hadn't waited, because then it wouldn't have come with so much pressure on the other side of things, and like.
Well, I think it's also nice that you married someone who actually is on a real journey with you.
Of course.
You know, like, he supports you so much and, like, doesn't judge you, I love Adam so much.
Yeah. He's the best.
But he, you know, it's like, but not everybody, I have another girlfriend who actually lives in Nashville. She was, you know, grew up the same kind of way, like, waited until marriage, like, got married to this guy.
Yeah.
Did the whole Christian thing. And on their wedding night, she didn't even want to have sex with him. And he essentially pressured, which we could call rape, maybe. But he was like, you're my wife. Like, this is how we consummate the marriage. Sure. Her body was totally shut off to him, was not even, like, open to that, which is like the tall tale sign.
Right.
Like,
yep.
Don't do it.
Right.
And, you know, because of the Christian guilt that she felt, she stayed in that relationship, which was abusive, more emotionally and psychologically than physically. But she stayed in that relationship for 6 years before breaking up with him and marrying the person that she's now with, who she loves and feels like her real person.
Yeah, we've really spoken about this. Like, we've very openly in the past. It just hasn't been a topic recently, so I love that we're bringing this back, because this is just opening it back up. Because we hadn't had sex, neither of us had sex before. We weren't aware of, like I said, there was anatomical differences. We had some issues. Yeah, basically between you, me, and the rest of the world, Adam is, like, really well endowed. Okay, so, like,
woo, we love it.
We're just gonna, like,
love to say
it straight. Yeah, we do, but also for the first month, it was quite difficult. You know, so I was like,
you're a very tiny person.
I'm a tiny person, and he's the opposite of tiny. So it was like it was a hard match at first. Now it's, like, glorious and beautiful, and we love everything about it. But at first, like, I was like, what's wrong with me? Like, I was naturally very sexual, like, growing up. So I was like, I've been cursed because I was sexual when I was younger. Like, now I can't have sex. But anyway, we went through this whole thing. Like, obviously have healed a lot of, like, emotional things as well. And, like, emotional, spiritual, all the things within, like, even our sexual selves, even over the years that we've been married. And it's been, like, one of our, like amazing journeys we've taken together. And yeah, so all that being said, like, that was one of the first things we discussed. And so back to, like, the masturbation conversation. Masturbation conversation, love that. That's gonna be like a segment in Curiosity. But yeah, I did used to, like, manifest and, like, dream and goals and different things, like, while masturbating. I just got to bring that back. So that's one of the spiritual practices that I just got to bring back into my life.
You know, just, like, make yourself feel good.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it's just, it's actually good. I've noticed if I have, like, consistent orgasms, whether it's, like, via masturbation or, like sex with Adam, if I'm having them on a regular basis, like, my period is a lot more regular, and I don't have any science to back that up. But on the times and different cycles where it's, like, I haven't been as much, or, like, Adam and I haven't seen each other in, like, weeks, because sometimes that happens, my period will be, like, way later. It's, like, thrown off. So my like, sexual health and my, like, reproductive health, like, go hand in hand. And I have no science to back that up. It's just a personal experience.
Well, science is based on experimentation, and you're experimenting.
It's true.
With yourself.
It's true. So one of my goals, actually, because like last cycle, we had sex a lot, and my period came, like, it was, like, perfect. It was, like, a perfect period, like, right on time, like, just was all the right signs.
Painful?
Yeah. No.
Do you have painful periods?
I mean, I take ibuprofen for the first, like, day, but
same.
Yeah, it's subsides after, like, the first day and a half. I would say it's very, like, your run-of-the-mill period, like 3 to 5 days.
Yeah.
Pain within the first day or two, like, it's fine.
Yeah.
But anyway, so, like, it is an experiment I'm I'm experimenting with it right now. I'm like, okay, if we.
I mean, I have no other choice because I'm single.
You have to take care of yourself. Like, you have to do that. Yeah, no, for sure. And that's fun. I mean, 8 years and counting for you.
I'm like, listen, do I want a man? I don't know. I don't want just any man.
Right.
I want like the man.
Right. Exactly.
So I'll be patient and go on my little walks with Jesus and come home and make love to myself. And
oh my God, I'm obsessed. Okay, yes, great. That is like if we're asking what Allie's like daily routine is, now we know. Maybe Kundalini yoga in there every once in a while.
Glowing because walks with Jesus and loving myself.
Exactly.
Okay.
We're here for this. Yes.
Also, so much water and great skincare.
Great. Yeah, we love that.
Products.
Yes. Do you have any skincare products you want to shout out? Not that they're sponsored or affiliated, but just go ahead.
Does OC want to sponsor me?
Oh
because
my God.
I love.
Yes.
Obsessed.
They're amazing.
For skincare, I love OC. I'm switching to clean makeup as well. Mm-hmm. So I don't even know how you pronounce it, but it's spelled SAIE. So say.
Oh, okay.
Maybe?
Yes, I've seen
that. They carry it at Sephora, but that's what I use as like my tinted moisturizer, and it also has SPF. I can't wear regular SPF on my face. I break out in little bumps and itch, and it's terrible. So
fascinating.
If I want to wear SPF, I have to wear like a tinted moisturizer.
Wow, interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
You're like, I
not
hate
really
it.
Interesting, but like, yeah, I hate it. And then for like blush, bronzer, highlighter, I use Westman Atelier. They have these little like twist sticks that you can like the sticks that you can put all over your face, and so I use that, and Josh Rosebrook for deep hydration.
Love. Yeah, well, you're a gorgeous
and then I love
gal,
crow's
so it works.
hair. Oh, thanks.
Yeah, it's
Thanks,
working
beauty.
for you.
Thank you.
I'm obsessed. I mean, I love skincare and all that. Like, I'm constantly adding to the roster of like all my skincare, all my like healthy girl makeup. Like, I'm into Ilia. I really like Ilia a lot.
I haven't tried their stuff yet, but I know a lot of people love them.
The serum, like the foundation, that's what I use, because it's not like a foundation. It's more like feels like skincare. So you'd like it. It's really, really hydrating. Sometimes too hydrating for my oily face, but like it's really hydrating. But yeah, anyway, so I love that. Now we know we're fully educated on your routine and all the things that make you beautiful and glowing and you. So thanks for sharing.
And I'm not, I'm not going to discredit like not having a stressful ass relationship for the last 8 years.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
That's
like,
so true. That's so true. The like toxic relationships will age you. Do you hear that, ladies and gents? Toxic relationships will give you wrinkles. So stop and get out.
Oh, I have plenty of wrinkles, but they're happy ones.
But they're happy wrinkles. Yeah, we're into that. Yeah, aging gracefully.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and I haven't been drinking alcohol for the last 4 months.
Oh, damn.
Which is a new thing. I wasn't like, I'm gonna be sober. I need to be sober because I have a problem. Is more just like, let's try this out. It's not really adding anything to my life. I want to see if I can just have fun without all that other.
Do you do mushrooms or things like that?
No. I mean, I have.
So you're just
love
like sober,
doing like. I'm sober.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm not smoking weed. I'm not.
Yeah.
Yeah, nothing else. But like my vices are, I love chocolate. Like I'm gonna have like cookies throughout the week.
Oh, you're so bad. Oh,
I'm so bad. No, but sugar is like actually like it's like cocaine. It is a drug. Very addictive.
Yeah, that's true.
So
hey, we all have our
I got a little pooch on my stomach, but
we all have our things, honey. Like I had an interview last week, and I had a few of them in one day, and I was hungover, and I was regretting everything in my life. So I haven't really drank since then. So I mean, I'm definitely not sober curious, but I'm always like, okay, I need to take a couple like weeks from drinking,
a beat.
So I take a beat. Maybe, I mean, one day hopefully I'm going to have children. So when I'm pregnant, and that's like 10 months of not drinking. So like, I'm just, we'll wait till then.
Yeah. Yeah.
For now on,
yeah, you'll have to go on a break.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
How are you avoiding it, like, timing wise, or?
Oh. Yeah, so, I mean, I know my cycle pretty well, but also he pulls out. I mean, he's a drummer. He's got good rhythm.
There you go.
So also, like, we're married in love and, like, we're okay. Like, if an oopsie happened, I'm not, like, it's not the end of the world, So, I wouldn't recommend just pull out. But, like, so far, I mean, it's been working for us. And, again, he's a drummer, so I wouldn't trust any man.
No.
So, he's got rhythm.
Yeah. I've been utilizing the rhythm method for ages.
Yeah. Like, we're good to go.
Because, yeah, like, I was on birth control for a while, and I just, like, didn't like the idea of, like, purposefully messing with my hormones.
No.
Let's take a moment to clap for Lauren that she won a fucking award at the Cannes Film Festival.
Yes. Oh my goch, thank you
When
so
I say
much.
con, it sounds like it's a con artist.
Right.
And so, like, I have, like,
so we're just going to say
Cannes,
Cannes,
Cannes.
C-A-N-N-E, Cannes, France.
Yes.
Yeah, the Cannes.
Yes.
Yeah, it's crazy. Thank you so much for the little claps, the little snaps.
Yes.
I never expected that sort of thing to happen to or for me, but here we are. It's added to the roster of things I've done in my life.
Casual. She's so casual. She's like, yeah, I won.
It's crazy.
Whatever.
I'm gonna look back on this year specifically and be like, what the fuck? Like, I did so many random things into 2023. Like,
This is 30.
Yeah. Yep. 30. Yeah.
This is 30.
Yeah.
This is your 30 year.
And literally Saturn returned, and then Saturn was like, yeah, fuck some shit up. Like, have a good time. Like, it was great. It was, like, so happy. You made it through your Saturn return, and now you get to just, like, go to Cannes, turn 30, and rebrand your podcast and have a good time. I'm like, all right, great. Cool.
Yeah. And I want to also thank you for bringing the woo-hoo back into my life with this podcast, but also just, like, bringing that back to my awareness, because I can get very worky and very hermity in my, like, artistry and, like, recharging.
Of course.
But I need to have fun, man. Like, I need more play in my life.
Right.
And when you guys were talking about that, and that was so profound what Adam said about, like, needing to feel safe before you can have fun is a very real thing, because being in joy is a very vulnerable thing.
Yeah.
It's an incredibly vulnerable thing, and it's threatening to people who are not operating from that space most of the time.
Right.
So, and you don't know who those people are until you come across them.
No, and it's like so similar to, like, being in love. It's like it takes such a vulnerable risk. Like, joy also takes such a vulnerable risk, and, like, other people can, like, look at that as well. So I mean, it's definitely the element that I've worked hard to add back into my life, or even to add into my life. I can't even say I was a super, like, playful child. I wasn't. Like, I was quite
really.
Yeah, I was quite serious. I was just, like I mentioned, like, I was spiritual. Like, I mean, I had an imaginary world with my sister, and that was, like, very colorful and beautiful. And that's, like, what 30 going on 13 kind of comes back to, is, like, that more, like, playful imaginary world that I completely created with her.
Right.
And
Sunnyvale.
Yes, Sunnyvale. And I'm bringing that back into my life, like, with the play, with the fun. And that started in, like, 2021 for me. And I, like, started going out. I started finally making friends. I was like, okay, I'm not living in religion anymore, or, like, I'm not living in the pain of, like, the band not being together anymore. I'm healed. Now what? And I'm like, okay, let's like have some fun with it. Like, that's, again, back to the tenets. Like, my last tenet is, like, life just isn't that serious. Like, have fun with it, play with it, put on the roles, like, try things on for size. Like,
doesn't it make sense that God would create a place for us to have fun and enjoy the experience of living? I mean, obviously, like, there are going to be moments where we, like, go through things that are very hard, and moments of grief are very necessary for feeling the range of everything else. But, like, that was also the other thing that didn't really resonate for me when I was a kid. I was like, the version of God that's being sold to me in church feels more like from the devil than it does from a being of light that loves me.
For sure. And you know, one of the things I look at and look to whenever I'm like, life isn't all that serious, like it doesn't always have to be, like there are elements that are literally just supposed to be playful. Like I look to the clitoris and I'm like, what do you do besides feel good? Like literally, what do you do?
Girl.
Nothing. So I'm like, that's like such a great example and a physical, tangible thing to be like, oh yeah, no, pleasure and play is literally a major part of life. Thanks to the clitoris for that lesson.
Yeah. Absolutely.
It's just facts.
It's just facts.
Yeah. Well, okay.
We could
literally
talk for
forever.
5
I know. I'm like
more days.
We should probably wrap up. Thank you like for all the things. Like I love when I get to have conversations with you and like I feel like the rabbit holes that we just fall down are my favorite because it's like just so not planned, but it's like it's like what people want. People want to feel like they're a fly on the wall for like 2 girlies like having a great conversation. And you know what? I'm so excited for Adam to hear this conversation because he always records, like we record the intro together, and like he listens through the episode and then we record the intro and we kind of like discuss the episode before the actual episode plays. I'm very intrigued to see his response. I can't wait for him to hear the part where I talk about his big dick. He's gonna be like, what? But whatever.
I'm so happy for you, Lauren.
Yeah, thank you. It's such a blessing. He's a blessing.
Wait, side note, is big dick like, are Adams synonymous with big dick? Because like every Adam I've ever like explored with has been very well endowed.
I would say yes. Did you ever watch Sex Education? There's an Adam on there, and I'm pretty sure he has a big dick
that's right.
Too.
And he has a huge dick.
Yeah, so I think it must be
like taking notes, only dating men named Adam. I've already been there before, but you know what?
Oh my god, that's so
I'm gonna go there again.
funny. This is like the best episode ever because like the things that people can walk away with, like tangible, like they can write it down in their journal, being like, okay, goals in life. Here we go.
Dating Adam.
Oh god. Anyway, well, thank you so much. We could do this forever, and let's have like a part 2, part 3. Let's make this a whole thing. So
1 million.
Okay.
Anytime.
Well, I love you so much.
Next time, Adam will be on the podcast. With us.
Yes. He is such a busy man, but yes, we will have him on for sure next time. And so for everyone listening, thank you guys so much for listening. Hope you guys enjoyed this conversation. Let us know if you have any thoughts. If you want to come at us for any of these opinions, like just be gentle, like we can have Discord. Or if you're just like want to laugh, like please like let us know as well. Like we want to make friends that are similar to us. So Allie, I'll list all your things like in the description of the podcast, Great. Like the show notes, all that, so you don't even need to worry about shouting out because it'll be there. But Allie Gonino, you guys just look her up. Thank you guys for listening. We love you guys, and until next time, bye.